CNS News. Michelle, you discussed this when it was your turn a little bit, but I was unclear at a couple points whether we were talking about card check or PLA.
Card check.
Card check, okay. What I'm wondering, and I'd like a position for maybe a couple other members of the panel as well, is it your proposition that if card check becomes law, it'll become more difficult for African American workers to get jobs in this economy?
Absolutely.
Oh, absolutely.
And business.
Go ahead, Michelle.
Could you explain in layman's terms exactly how that would happen?
Well, I'll give you an example, and I'll leave it to the actual business owners to talk about this more in depth. But if you are an employee, and I'll just use by way of an example of a small woman-owned business or a small minority-owned business, and you are forced if your employees are forced to join unions, and your costs rise over a certain percentage, what are you going to do? If you don't want to go out of business, you're going to be forced to have layoffs. You're going to be forced to cut benefits. You're going to be forced to hire fewer people. And we know generally when there is a crisis or an unemployment crisis, if it affects the general population one way, it has even more of a negative impact on minorities and on women. It's just the way it is in this country right now.
Would you extend the same position to something like minimum wage? Which also causes small businesses to...
Yeah, I would extend it to minimum wage. I mean, a lot of people will tell you that really the only people that get a benefit by increases in minimum wage are kids that work at Burger King, over the summer. For people who have to make very real decisions about how many people they can employ, how they employment, what their benefit structure is going to be, artificial raises in minimum wage can really have a negative impact on how many people you hire, how many people you keep, and whether or not you extend benefits to your employees.
Minimum wage isn't an issue with the chamber. We're not bothered with minimum wage. Most of our employees pay far more than minimum wage. That's not an issue. Living wage is an issue.
Different issue.
Oh, that's a whole big difference.
Well, some people will say living wage and minimum wage should be the same thing.
No, that's crazy. And we're talking France here. We're talking Germany. We're talking socialism. You know, and unless we're getting our medical benefits paid for in those wages, unless we're getting guarantees of employment, unless we're getting 60-day vacations, it's not going to work. And we can't play France and Germany's game because our economies are different.
Can I just follow up with one political question?
Yes, sir.
This in the House, obviously, card check is well on its way. We think it'll get a signature in the White House. The Senate really seems to be the last round where there could be some kind of decent resistance. What's happening there? What's going to happen this summer when card check comes up? And what kind of efforts are you putting forward to stop this thing?
Well, I've talked with some very influential business leaders. A couple of them are kind of my mentors, and they will go to hell soaked in gasoline before card check comes out of the Capitol Hill. They swear to that. So you're looking for a mother of a fight.
And that's galvanized not only from construction. If you take for the first time, I guess in recent memory, and Brian Worth is here with IEC, you have a paradigm where all businesses, the business community as a whole, whether that be large, small, Walmart, every industry from a business perspective is galvanized, and they will fight this to the nth. I know from our end we have several construction-minded folks that are, banding together. This is a real fight, and it's more so from the standpoint of fairness. I know from my end, being a former union member, I don't believe in communism. Not everyone should get paid the same rate. If you've got two lazy people that are not pulling their weight and they're being paid the same thing as you, it doesn't stand a reason why those folks should, one, get paid as much as you, let alone have a job. Exactly. It's a terrible situation. And capitalism was not founded on that. If you want to be a communist,
go to China.
Yeah,
It's like in Michelle's native home of Jamaica. I was at a restaurant in Kingston, and the service was just so lousy. And I asked one of the waiters, why is it that you don't want to hustle your tip? Because the tip all goes into one big pot, and it's divided equally no matter what kind of service you gave. You don't keep your own tips. So therefore, there was no service. and therefore I'm not going back to that restaurant. Therefore, they're going to go out of business.
And that is how the free market should work.
That's right. And card check is an international movement, by the way, people. Card check's coming out of the UN. It's not a United States issue. It's coming out of the UN. It's coming from that France and Germany and other people who like this big brother idea, which is counter to the way we live. Next question. Comments? I'll even take a nice comment. Yes, sir.